Hello. Sorry, I am really thirsty. Well, I was thirsty, but now I'm okay. Today, I'm going to teach you about probably the most famous verb ever. Yes, the verb to be. I know you hate it. I know you've studied the verb to be forever, but we have to look at the past tense of the verb to be because we use it a lot in the past. And you have to make sure that when you're speaking English, you can use the past tense as well as the present tense because it's very important. So let's look at the structure of the verb to be in the past. There are two different forms that you have to remember, so be careful with this one. If we use I, it's me, he, she, or it. Now remember, it can be a singular object like a water bottle, or it can also be an animal. We have to use the verb was. So the past tense of the verb to be with I, he, she, and it, we have to use was. So I can say, I was thirsty. Thirsty means I need to drink. If we use you, they, or we have to change it to were. So we have to say, for example, you were thirsty. Okay? I was thirsty, but you were thirsty. This is where it gets a little bit difficult to remember, okay? Let's go through the examples. So I can say, when I use the simple past, I can say, for example, I was tired. Tired means you need to sleep. He was sad. She was funny. Now be careful because the word funny, a lot of people can get mixed up in English. Funny means something that makes you laugh. And the word that people get mixed up with is fun. Now, if I say she was fun, that's okay, but it's a different meaning. Fun means like, whoa, I'm having a good time. So funny means it makes you laugh, and fun means, whoa, look at my water, it's so fun. It was good. So let's go through the examples. It's your turn. So you say, I was tired. Good. Perfect. He was sad. She was funny. It was good. We also have to know the negative because maybe it wasn't good. So you have to know how to make the negative for this. So when we make the negative, we're just going to put not. But in a fast, natural English, we don't usually say she was not tired. We say she wasn't tired. So let's make these sentences negative. In the positive, I say I was tired. If we make it negative, all we're going to do is put nt, and say I wasn't tired. What about this one? He wasn't sad. So again, I can write wasn't here. What about this one? You do this. She. Good. She wasn't funny. She was boring. Oh my God, she wasn't funny. And try this one. It, in the negative, wasn't good. It wasn't good. Perfect. So, do you know what, Ronnie? It wasn't good. Okay, let's do some examples using the other part of the verb. So again, we have you, they and we're going to use were. And if we use the negative, we're going to use weren't. And of course, we have to use the adjective again. So let's go through some examples. You were, oh, this thirsty. I don't drink my marker. Oh, Ronnie, you were thirsty. Yes, I was. They were bad. We were angry. Angry and mad is the same thing. If you're angry or mad, it's not really a good emotion. Again, these are all adjectives, so let's make these positive sentences into a negative sentence. Let's see if you can do it. So, for example, you were thirsty is going to become you weren't thirsty. Good. Hey, you weren't thirsty. The next one, they were bad. In the negative, we're going to say they weren't plus our adjective bad. Good. Good, bad. They weren't good or bad. And we were angry. Can you make that sentence negative? We weren't angry. Perfect. Yahoo! So, we've done the positive and the negative. But you cannot forget the question. Because a lot of the times in English, we learn the positive and the negative. And then in conversation, when you're talking to someone, you want to ask them a question. But you don't know how. No fear. Let's go. When we ask a question, let's say I want to say thirsty. What I have to do is I have to put the verb at the beginning of the sentence. And it doesn't change with was. I, he, and she, and it we use was. But we put it at the beginning. So I can say, well, guess what? Was I thirsty? So was I, my subject, and then my adjective, thirsty. When you ask a question in English, make sure that your intonation goes up at the end of the sentence. So you know, or the person knows you're asking them a question. Was he tired? Make sure it goes up. When you use you, we, and they, we have to change it to were. So instead of saying was, we say were. Were you tired? So be careful with this. So was and were in the positive. To make a question, all we're going to do is reverse the order. We're going to put the was and the were, the subject, and then the adjective. Let's go through some questions. Let's make this a question. You were thirsty. How would you ask that as a question? Ask me. Yes. So you said, Ronnie, were you... Hey, Ronnie, were you thirsty? Yes, I was. Were you thirsty? Mm-hmm. And what about the next one? They were bad. How would you ask that as a question? Were they bad? Good. And the last one. We were angry. As a question, we're going to say, were we angry? Were we angry? Let's go through the examples using I. And again, you're going to talk to yourself and say, was I tired? Yeah. He was sad. Can you ask that as a question? So remember, we use the verb, the subject, and the adjective. So we say, was he sad? Was he sad? She was funny. Can you make that a question? We're going to start with was, and then the subject and the adjective. Was she funny? And the last one, it was good. As a question, we would say, was it good? So we'd say, hey, was it good? All right, there's one other way that you have to be careful in English grammar that we're going to use the auxiliary verb was or were in a sentence. So this is just the simple past, and I'll be right back to tell you one other grammar point called the past continuous, where you have to use this grammar as well. Okay, so the second part, when we use the verb to be in the past, we have to use with this grammar called past continuous. So past continuous, we're going to have a subject, then we're going to use either was or were, and we're going to use a verb in the ing form. And this is what makes it continuous. So continuous has a verb with ing. For example, I was eating. So eating makes the sentence continuous. Past continuous, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, Ronnie, I don't know the past continuous. It's okay. We use it to tell stories in the past. So I can say, for example, okay, yesterday, I was eating breakfast and I dropped my cereal. So we always use this for telling stories about the past. So that's it. It's just about storytelling. Do you like to tell stories? If you do, you have to know this grammar. So it's just like the simple past. You have to use he, I, she, and it with was or wasn't. And you, we, and they, we're going to use were or weren't in the negative. So it's the same idea. The difference is how we use it. We use it in the past continuous for storytelling, and we don't use an adjective. For this one, we're going to use the verb plus ing. The question is going to be the same format. The question is going to be was or were, and then your subject. So your subject is I, you, we, they, he, she, it, plus the verb ing. So let's go through some examples. I'm telling a story, okay? So, I was eating. This is in the past tense, and I'm telling you, something else is going to happen. I was eating. He was, remember, he was running. It was jumping. Ronnie, don't jump. Okay. Let's put these into the negative. So, when we want to put the negative, it's very easy. Just like we did before in the past, in the simple past, we're just going to use wasn't. So we're going to say, I wasn't eating. Good. Let's try this. He was running. If we want to use this in the negative, we have to say, he wasn't running. And if I say it was jumping in the negative, I would say it wasn't jumping. Let's go through our examples using you, we, and they. You were eating. We were running. They were jumping. Let's make these negative. When in the negative, we have to put weren't. So we're going to say you weren't eating. You do this one. We weren't running. And when we do this, we have to make sure that we put the apostrophe here. Because in the long form, it's not. But as I told you before, we usually don't say not. We don't say we were not running. We say weren't. So make sure you put the apostrophe. And then this one. Okay, can you say this in the negative? If I say they were jumping. In the negative, your turn. Good. We're going to say they weren't jumping. Cool. Let's try the question, shall we? So remember with the question, we're going to use was or were first, and then the subject, and then we're going to use the verb plus ing. So, they were jumping. Can you make that a question? We have to put were they jumping, jump, 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 jump. Were they jumping? So remember, the were part goes first. We were running. It's a question mark. We're going to say, were we running? Were we running? I don't remember. What about this one? You were eating. I want to ask you. I would say, hey, were you eating? Oh, good. Good. Hey, do you know what? If you're hungry, please eat. Give me some food though too. What are you eating? Oh, okay. Delicious. It was jumping. Can you make that a question? Okay. Was it jumping? He was running. You want to ask as a question, we say, was he running? And the last one, I was eating. As a question, we say, oh, hey, was I eating? I don't remember. So, if you have questions about this, please ask in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. Till then, I'm going to go on an adventure. Bye.